Good morning, hello, and welcome to this, which is our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM live webinar. I'm Challis, and obviously going to be your host for this short event. Before we kick things off, just some very quick housekeeping. So the webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions while I'm presenting, then please feel free to click the Q&A button that you'll find in your webinar window there and jot down your question, and then I'll try to get to as many, or to answer as many of your questions as I can towards the end of this morning's session. We've got 30 minutes allocated, so let's get going and try and get you to your next meeting on time. So yeah, the problem statement really is the SOC has to change. There's a dire need to modernize security operations and the Security Operations Center. And these are the three, what we believe are the three top problems. So first and foremost is digital transformation. So cloud migration spending has grown at 6 times the pace of general IT spending. And according to Gartner, worldwide spending on public cloud services is forecast to grow to almost $332 billion in 2021. So a huge, obviously a huge amount of spending going into moving applications to the cloud. From a security perspective, 3 out of 4 security teams agree that their cloud infrastructures are generating more security alerts than their similar or comparable on-premise environments. And the fact is that the legacy security tools and SIEMs weren't built for this digital transformation and cloud environments, and they've resulted in more threat visibility gaps than ever before. Secondly, migrating apps to the cloud has shifted the threat landscape, and it's created an explosion in the attack surface. So somewhere around 2/3 of security professionals said or blame the increase in the number of security alerts from new and evolving threats, whereas somewhere about half or 50%, 55% blame the increase in their cloud infrastructure. The reality is a simple misconfiguration can lead to a major data breach. In addition to that, we've already talked about the explosion of the attack surface, but we're just pulling in more data than ever before from mobile devices, IoT. Many organizations are not running one cloud, but multi-cloud environments, and some are running so-called hybrid environments, so a mixture of cloud and on-premise infrastructure. Organizations are also exploring new ways of deploying and managing their applications. So things like modern application frameworks like containers and a microservice type approach to building applications. Organizations are facing more zero-day threats. So unfortunately, the scourge of ransomware continues to increase, and APTs are still an ongoing concern in many organizations. Thirdly, the reality is that security operations is no longer a human scale problem. So somewhere around 80% of security teams are reporting that their security operations center and their staff are experiencing so-called alert fatigue, and 3/4 of those organizations think that they'd need to hire 3 or more analysts just to conquer and deal with this huge increase in the alert volume. So the ongoing resource and cybersecurity skill shortage means basically that you just can't hire enough people to manually address the problem. There's simply too many alerts, you can't get to all of them. The existing investigation processes are very slow and inefficient. There's a lack of integration amongst tools as well, so this leads to this so-called swivel chair correlation happening. Because of the lack of skills, the lack of resources and the skill shortage in the industry, it also means we can't hire our way out of this problem. So unfortunately, the final approach, which would be outsourcing security operations, doesn't always help as well. And so the reality is that none of the traditional approaches, so the legacy SIEM tools, outsourcing or just hiring more analysts are going to work in the modern SOC. So organizations need a modern cloud SIEM to secure their cloud journey and manage this changing attack surface and bring some innovation back to the SOC. So here at Sumo Logic, we take a completely different approach with our cloud SIEM products. These are some of the key differentiators here. So firstly, automated insights provide an automation of the alert triage process. So effectively, we're automating level 1 analysts and helping you to avoid hiring those 3 or more analysts that I talked about in the previous slide. We automatically enrich these insights with essential data to help accelerate the investigative process, including things like users and device information, and then other types of metadata as well around things like URL entropy or DNS domain generation algorithm matching. Our cloud native scalability allows you to send us whatever you want, whenever you want, and query however much you want, whenever you want. And we offer this or we offer you the economics to collect and analyze all types of data and actually store that data in tiers in a very cost-effective way, which helps you drive cost savings in the collection process and of course avoid those surprising overages that can often occur. And we do all of this through a single platform, which allows you to bring your teams together and consolidate around a tool that can be used for log management, metrics, so metric collection and analytics. We also provide a lightweight application performance monitoring solution using distributed tracing. Obviously, we have the SIEM, which we're here to talk about today, which helps security operations with their alert triage, detection and incident response process, as well as providing a SOAR, so security orchestration or automation and remediation tool for SOCs which really want to benefit from the automation process. So we've built this platform for essentially the entire dev and security world. It's built on a secure data lake. We provide a number of certifications and security attestations around the platform, but it allows all of your users to obviously leverage that same consistent, trusted data set. And then finally, we're integrating all of that data with things like threat intelligence feeds from CrowdStrike, or maybe you can bring in your own threat intelligence feeds through Taxi. And then we also offer integration with Yara analysis and synchronizing Yara analytics policies through GitHub. And I'll come back and talk a little bit about Yara rules when we get into the demo very shortly. So we're really bringing the best of both worlds. We provide this powerful search interface, which is a streamlined, modern, purpose-built security operations tool, which I'll show you in just a second, to help drive the workflow. And with that, the streamlined security operations workflow, it's really designed from the ground up to provide a prioritization-based workflow that enables analysts like yourselves to intuitively verify the alerts and investigate the incidents. We provide obviously a multi-cloud approach, so we provide the capability to to collect from a wide range of public or private clouds, so everything from AWS or Azure, a Google Cloud platform, as well as some of the more niche platforms, and we allow very simply you to collect your data and pull it into the cloud simply by entering an API key, and away you go. And it allows us to create correlations across all of your data sources and allow you to take that holistic perspective across all of the infrastructure. And finally, we provide very, very rapid time to value. So we typically get our customers up and running within a couple of days at the most. We have the most out-of-the-box content for cloud security. and we allow customers to add users, manage their data sets and third-party integrations all through this SaaS platform, which is very, very quick and easy to deploy and manage. As I said, typically we have customers up and running in a couple of days and showing value. So really from our first meeting to ingesting their data sources, to surfacing these insights and providing some critical insights into their enterprise, typically takes a matter of days, as I said. And if you compare that with the legacy SIEMs out there, which typically take weeks, months, or even quarters to get the software deployed and configured and tuned, it's a huge systems engineering exercise that goes on. And again, we avoid all of that through our cloud-based SaaS approach and the rich content that we provide in the platform. Just very quickly, before I move on to the demo, in case you were not aware, we were very recently named to the visionary segment of the Magic Quadrant, Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And we really believe that this, provides tremendous recognition of the innovation and the roadmap and the execution against that roadmap that we've been providing. And this is our first placement in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEMs. But yeah, I think it speaks really to the fact that our customers have realized that this cloud native approach with Cloud SIEM really does provide a tremendous modern way to deploying and managing security operations. The link to the report can be found on our website if you want to go and have a look at that. And then we're also mentioned in a further Gartner report on critical capabilities. So please go and check that out and obviously get Gartner's opinion on us as well. Again, just very, very quickly, before we move on to the demo, just to be clear, we offer a range of security solutions. So everything from basic log collection to meet audit and compliance needs, built on top of this secure platform that we have for log collection. We have our cloud security monitoring and analytics. So these are inbuilt applications that you can select based on data source that provide you some visibility into security. We have our Cloud SIEM, which obviously is the reason for us meeting this morning, and I'll be showing you the demo in just a second. And then very recently, we've also launched a Cloud SOAR platform, which we also demo on a monthly basis as well. And actually, you just missed this month's demo. It was yesterday, but if you keep an eye out on our website, we'll be repeating that again on a monthly basis. Excuse me. Okay, so here now on to the bit that obviously you guys are all here to see, which is the demo. So what you see on your screens now is the Cloud SIEM, what we call head-up display. So it's all about situational awareness, and what you see in the middle of the screen here, these three circles here. The outer circle is simply charting what we call records over, in this case, the 24-hour period that we're currently looking at. The inner histogram here is charting over that same period what we call signals. And then finally, each of the triangles, the colored triangles here, represent what we call insights. And this is obviously, as I said, all about situational awareness. And these three metrics, just to explain for a second, really relate to the data that we're processing. So first and foremost, records. So records are the normalized version of the raw log data. So as with every SIEMs, you normalize the log data to make it easy to compare data from different sources and run that through a correlation engine. And again, with Cloud SIEM, just with other legacy SIEMs, we have a correlation engine. We call our correlation signals. Other SIEMs might call them correlated events or alerts or notables, but they're in essence the same thing. They're the threat detections. And unfortunately, this is really where legacy SIEMs leave you. So although you get a good degree of data reduction from a correlation engine, as you can see here, we're going down from 12 million normalized records down to a mere half a million detections from those records, you simply wouldn't want to be having your SOC look through 500,000 detections on a 24-hour basis. But unfortunately, this, as I said, is where legacy SIEMs leave you. And this is really where most legacy SOCs today are struggling with this overload of detections and so-called alert fatigue. The good news, obviously, with Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM is we've provided an additional layer of technology that we call insights. What insights do is they cluster together the detections based on having a shared entity. So each of these insights that you see indicated by triangles here in the demo represent a collection of detections which are related. They share either the same IP or host name or username or indeed any element of the normalized log schema that we publish through records. So let's dive in and take a look at these 6 insights that we have here. As you can see, insights can be taken through stages in a remediation process. So we have 3 insights in the new phase. We'll take a look at one of those in just a second. We've got a couple that are already in process. And then we have one here that we've escalated to our tier 3 function for remediation. So the great thing about these insights is that they're automatically generated by the system. You don't need to spend many hours of your time pulling together and doing the so-called tier 1 alert triage. The system does that for you automatically. And what it means is you're therefore free to spend your time responding to incidents or threat hunting rather than just trying to figure out what's happening in a mountain of alerts. So let's take a look at this one here. So insight 3425, exfiltration, lateral movement and discovery. So the first thing to note is obviously the name. The name is derived obviously partly a ticket ID, an incident ID, but also more importantly, it's the rest of the name is derived from MITRE ATT&CK tactics. So everything, every piece of content in the system maps back to MITRE ATT&CK. Obviously, MITRE ATT&CK has very much become the de facto standard for analysts to understand attacks and attack progression nowadays, and we make heavy use of it in the system. The other information that you can see here is that we see the entity. So in this particular case, this IP address has 7 unique signals, so 7 unique detections over an 8-day period. And we reckon the global confidence, so this is one of our machine learning models here for providing you an indication of true positives. So we can see the global confidence here. It's actually fairly low, but yeah, global confidence is learned by your actions. So as you process insights with Cloud SIEM, the system learns which collections of signals are leading to true positives, and obviously helps you avoid dead-end investigations in false positives. Anyway, let's move on and take a look at the detail of here, Insight 3425. So as a good analyst, the first thing I probably should be doing is just taking a look down the left-hand side here. So first of all, going ahead, letting my teammates know that I'm working on it. So assigning it to the status of in progress. I've also, as you've just seen there, assigned it to myself. So I'm now responsible for working on this. You can also organize your SOCs and your teams in tiers or groups, and then obviously have the insights worked on in groups rather than as individuals. The other thing that you might also want to do as you begin the investigation is you might want to take one of a number of actions, which you again can be configured. They range from performing enrichment, so that would be, for example, through something like recorded future here, or it might be alerting through some other alerting or workflow mechanism like SNS or ServiceNow. So we've just launched a whole new integration with ServiceNow. Or it might be, for example, to send the this particular insight off to our security orchestration, automation and remediation tool, or SOAR, perhaps maybe to go and contain a host, or take some other active action, for example, blocking a user here. So those types of actions are all available, really escalating to external systems. Anyway, back to the initial analysis. As you can see here, I've got some information about the IP address. If I have inventory installed, then I will also see that appear. We can also see here that associated with this IP address 192.168.38.103, we also are highlighting a couple of other related entities. So these are host names, which we've have detected as being related to this IP. We have the ability to go and create incidents in ServiceNow for escalation. And if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see that this insight has already been tagged up with a collection of tags. The tags are free form, so many SOCs have their own taxonomy. You can use those, or if you just want to leverage MITRE ATT&CK, like many SOCs do nowadays, you'll be pleased to see that we've already tagged up the this particular incident here with the MITRE ATT&CK tactics that have been associated with each of the individual detections. The other thing that I should note here in passing as an analyst, this is actually a threat against one of our domain controllers. So obviously, very high severity, a critical level of threat, and something that I should be getting on with investigating. And again, just to keep my teammates up to date, I can keep little comments here, which are obviously held as part of the insight as I begin my investigative process. Okay, so let's move across and look at the main part of the screen here. So the first thing that you see at the top here, this timeline view, really allows the analyst very, very quickly to get the progression of the attack. So one of the great things that we're doing with Insights is we're looking at your data over an extended period of time. So traditional legacy correlation engines, they really struggle to correlate data over more than a few hours apart. And clearly, most APTs, most experienced threat actors nowadays know that the lower and slower they can make their attack, the easier it's going to be for them to fly under the radar and defeat the detection mechanisms. And unfortunately, legacy correlation engines that are present in legacy SIEMs, as I mentioned, are really only able to detect data that's in an efficient way, really only a few hours apart. With Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM Insights, on the other hand, what we do out of the box is we're looking back over a 14-day period in order to correlate together the signals that we're surfacing. You can extend that period, so some customers extend it to a 30-day period, but 14 days out of the box. And as you can see on the timeline here, that really does help you identify these apparently disparate security detections and pull them all together around entity 192.168.38.103. So looking at the timeline here, I can mouse over each of the items. As we can see, this attack actually started back in August, towards the end of August. It then went quiet for a long period of time. And then we see some other detections here. One of the things that you'll note is obviously the little markers on the timeline differ. So the little blue chevron symbols here relate to detections that have come from the Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM correlation engine, whereas these little square-shaped indicators here are coming from our Yarra rule processing engine, which looks at files that are being carved, in this example here, by Bro, which is a well-known IPS, IDS, or it's better known nowadays as Zeek. So what we've done here is we're combining our technology here with a Zeek network sensor, which is doing some network analysis. And if I scroll down and look at each of the individual items here, let's just collapse these down. The first thing that you'll note there was that the initial detections from way back in August here were warning about a potential enumeration of users in the domains. This kind of explains why the attack then went away and was quiet. The other thing of note here is we see some attempts to execute commands on the system remotely using PS exec. And then, so this is obviously the early phase of the attack, where potentially they're collecting the domain database here, the SAM. But then we see them coming back after a dwell of 8 days here, 7 days, and we then see some further detections. So we can see here one of the rules triggered, warning us about potential DNS exfiltration. So we're doing a lot of enrichment under the hood. One of those enrichments is to look at domain names and highlight any that are either got a high entropy, as they would in this example here, or perhaps they look like DGA, domain generation algorithm names. So clearly some very threatening actions being taken here early on. We then see some further analysis from the Zeek sensor that is carving a file, so extracting a file from a data transfer, uploading it to Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM for analysis, and the analysis is being applied through Yarrow rules, and we're able to link these Yarrow rules to GitHub repository, so you can have a more automatic change control and update mechanism there. And as we can see, Yarrow is warning us about a number of suspicious aspects of the, in this case, PDF file that was carved out of the data stream here. So these are obviously continued attempts to execute further compromise within the organization. So very finally, once I've performed my analysis at the end of, after we'd obviously remediated the threat, you would close out the insight, and this helps us through this global intelligence service learn which collections of signals have ended in false positive investigations, wasted your time, versus those which have led to true positive investigations where we've had to take action to remediate. So this is all part and parcel of teaching the system based on your actions and your data, what looks like true positives. But we're also importantly learning from other customers, other Sumo Logic customers, so cloud sourcing intelligence, if you like, about the collections of signals and detections which have, in those other customers, led to true positive investigations, and therefore are going to be more threatening for you in your environment as well. So very important, obviously, that you help feed that algorithm at the end there. So that was it really for the demo for today. I'm just going to switch back to the presentation, well, first of all, to take any questions that you guys might have. So first and foremost, if you do have any questions, there's a little Q&A button. If you want to click on that, and you'll be able to write your question in the Q&A box there. The questions, I'll just take a couple of these questions here. The first one is Cloud SIEM a separate product? So Cloud SIEM is an integrated security analyst's view into the data that's being collected and secured, and provides all of the searchable raw log data and analytics of the Sumo Logic continuous intelligence platform. So it's really an interface which is built with the security analyst in mind, and obviously streamlining their tasks that they would take as part of a security operations center. Okay, so how do you, how much does it cost? How do we charge? So the system, all of Sumo Logic systems are charged based on data ingest. We, as I mentioned earlier, do provide various tiers of ingest. So there would be a tier related to ingesting data for correlation, for example, versus a much cheaper tier, which would perhaps you would use for collecting data that you had to keep for regulatory purposes, for example, or compliance. So yeah, and if you'd like obviously any further information on pricing and get obviously a quote that's tailored to your use cases and needs, then please do obviously reach out to our sales team, who would be more than happy, obviously, to talk to you about your needs. Just one final thing, or a couple of final things before you go. We are just about to have our annual user conference, so that's coming up towards the end of September. My colleague will hopefully post into the chat there a link that you guys can follow if you'd like to register for the user conference. But yeah, obviously we're very much looking forward to hearing from our customers about what they're doing with Sumo Logic as part of Illuminate, which is our, as I said, annual user conference. So please feel free to sign up for that. And then finally, if you do have any further questions, yeah, feel free to reach out and contact our sales team, and we'd be very obviously interested in talking to you about your needs and seeing what we can do to help resolve some of your problems. So thanks very much for your time today. I'm Alex Challis. It's been a pleasure hosting the webinar this morning, and obviously we hope to speak to you in person very soon. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day.